One day after we moved in, the previous owner called me. Her voice trembled on the other end of the line. "I forgot to turn off my hidden security camera. I saw what your son did while you were out. Come see me immediately. And whatever you do, don't tell him a word." What she showed me that morning nearly stopped my heart. I'm grateful you're here with me. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is right now. Trust me, you'll want to hear every word of this. 24 hours earlier, I'd been celebrating. Brad had just bought Diana's apartment, my older sister's place at the Ansonia building. She'd lived there 4 years, but decided last week to move upstate. When Brad bought it and asked me to move in after Mom passed, I thought it was the kindest gesture. "You shouldn't be alone, Dad," he'd said, handing me champagne in that beautiful living room with 15-foot ceilings and golden light. After losing Mom and Natalie, my baby girl, dead 4 years from an overdose, Brad had handled everything: the police, the funeral, the unbearable details, while I fell apart. "To new beginnings," he'd said. I'd believed him. That was yesterday. This morning, everything shattered. I met Diana at Bryant Park at 7. She sat hunched on a bench, drowning in an oversized coat. When she saw me, she flinched. "I should have told you before you moved in," she said, "but I was terrified." "What's going on?" She pulled out a tablet with shaking hands. "I installed cameras 4 years ago. When I moved out, I forgot to disable them. Last night, reviewing the footage I saw," her voice broke. "Just watch. The video was grainy black and white. Yesterday, 9:47 a.m., while I'd been buying groceries, a narrow room with concrete walls and a bare bulb. Brad walked in carrying a tray food bread water. He set it down, stepped back, arms crossed, expression cold. From the shadows, someone crawled forward, skeletal, filthy, moving on hands and knees. They reached for the food with desperate, trembling hands. Brad said something, then walked out. A lock clicked. The person ate in frantic, choking bites. Then they looked up at the camera. I knew those eyes. Dark brown, her mother's shape. The scar above the left eyebrow from age 7. "That's not possible," I whispered. "That's Natalie." Diana's voice was hollow. "She's alive, Parker. She's been alive this whole time." The world tilted. We buried her. Brad identified the body. Brad lied. Diana grabbed my arm. 4 years ago, he came to me. Said Natalie was in trouble, gambling debts, dangerous people. He needed a place to hide her. He'd pay me to stay here, bring food, keep her safe. I thought I was helping. You knew for 4 years. He threatened me. Said he'd kill us both. Tears streaked her face. And Parker, the apartment was never mine. Brad bought it through a shell company, put it in my name. I was the prison guard. She pressed paper into my hand. There's a hidden room behind the bookshelf in the study. Electronic lock. Code is her death date, October 15th. Brad leaves at 7, comes home at 10:30. You have 3 hours. I stared at the frozen image. My daughter. The child I'd mourned was alive, living in hell, in the apartment I'd just moved into. "Why now?" I asked. "Because when I checked the cameras, she was still there, with you living right above her." Diana stood, backing away. "If Brad finds out, I told you he'll find me. You're on your own." She disappeared into the crowds. I sat holding the paper, looking up at the Ansonia building, rising like a beautiful lie. Somewhere inside, my daughter was waiting. And somewhere inside was my son, the man I'd trusted. I had 3 hours before Brad came home. 3 hours to find my daughter and figure out what to do with the monster I'd raised. The apartment felt like a trap when I stepped back inside. Everything looked the same, Brad's coffee mug and the sink morning light through the windows. But now I saw it differently. These walls weren't home. They were a cage. And somewhere behind them, my daughter was buried alive. 7:45. Brad had left 15 minutes ago. I had until 10:30. The study was at the end of the hall, handsome with dark wood paneling. Yesterday it looked distinguished. Now I saw it for what it was, a door to hell. The bookshelf covered the north wall floor to ceiling, packed with leather volumes. I pulled books away by the armful, searching. Diana said the panel was behind the middle shelf. There, a small electronic keypad barely visible, numbers glowing faint blue. My hands shook as I entered the code. October 15th, the day we'd buried an empty casket. 3 seconds. Then a soft click and the bookshelf swung inward. The smell hit me first. Stale air, sweat, unwashed skin. A single bulb flickered on. The room was maybe 8 by 10, narrow, windowless. A thin mattress with a gray blanket. A desk with 3 monitors, dark but smudged with use. Protein bar wrappers. a water bottle half empty. Everything neat, organized, a cell pretending not to be a cell. But Natalie wasn't there. I stood in the empty room, breath coming too fast. Had Diana lied? Had Brad moved her? 3 sharp knocks. Pause. 3 more. From below me, from the floor. My heart stopped. I knew that pattern. When Natalie was 7, I'd taught her Morse code. She made up her own version. 3 knocks meant I need you. I dropped to my knees. Natalie. 3 knocks. Louder. Urgent. I tore at the floorboards, searching for a gap. There, one board newer than the others. I grabbed a letter opener from Brad's desk and wedged it under the edge. The board lifted. Below was darkness and breathing. Natalie, I'm coming. The opening was barely 2 feet wide. I lowered myself in feet, finding cold metal pipes, ductwork. A service tunnel. I'd worked with these systems my whole career. I knew they existed in old buildings like the Ansonia. I'd never imagined one could hide a person. I turned on my phone's flashlight. The beam revealed a narrow passage barely 3 feet high. Pipes ran along the ceiling, dripping. The walls were close enough to touch. I got on my hands and knees and crawled. The tunnel smelled of rust and mold. Water dripped ahead. My light bounced off metal and concrete, creating moving shadows. The space was so tight, I had to turn my shoulders sideways. But I kept moving, because somewhere in this darkness was Natalie. I'm coming, baby, I whispered. The tunnel curved left, then right. I lost direction. The Ansonia was massive, built in 1904, with layers of utility corridors and forgotten spaces. Brad had found one and turned it into a tomb. The breathing grew louder. I crawled around a junction of pipes and stopped. She was curled against the far wall, where 2 pipes met, pressed into the smallest space. In my phone's harsh light, I saw matted blonde hair, skin pale as paper clothes, that were rags. She didn't move, didn't look up, just stayed curled tight like she was trying to disappear into the metal. I crawled forward slowly, carefully. Natalie? Still no movement. But the breathing quickened. Fear breathing. Baby, it's me. It's Dad. My voice cracked on the word. 4 years. 4 years she'd been down here in the dark while I'd mourned a lie. I reached out my hand, trembling in the flashlight beam. I crawled into the darkness, following the sound of breathing. Somewhere ahead in that narrow tunnel, my daughter was waiting. She was curled against the pipe so thin I almost missed her. In the harsh beam of my phone, she looked like a shadow, not a person. Matted blonde hair clung to a face I barely recognized. Her skin was gray, stretched tight over jutting bones. A filthy t-shirt and sweatpants hung from her frame clothes, meant for someone twice her size. She didn't look up when the light found her. She only pressed closer to the cold metal, trying to disappear. Please don't, she whispered, voice rough and broken. I'm sorry. I'll work faster. Please don't hit me. Please. Natalie. The name came out choked. Baby, it's me? It's Dad? She froze. For a long moment she didn't move or breathe. Then she slowly lifted her head. Even hollowed by hunger and dulled by years underground, I knew those eyes. My daughter's eyes. Dad. The word was barely sound. You're not... This isn't... It's real. I'm real. Diana showed me. I know everything. Her face collapsed. 4 years of holding herself together shattered at once. The sound she made wasn't quite a sob or a scream, just raw pain that tore at my chest. She lunged and fell into my arms. I held her while she shook and cried. I felt every rib through the filthy shirt, felt how light and fragile she was. This was my baby girl, and I'd been drinking champagne, celebrating a new apartment while she was dying in the dark. I'm sorry, I whispered into her hair. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. He said you wouldn't believe me, she murmured. He had papers, doctor's reports, everything saying I was unstable. He said if I told anyone, they'd think I was crazy. I believe you. Diana showed me the video. She pulled back, eyes frantic. Then you have to leave. Now. If he knows, you know. I'm not leaving you. You have to. Her hands gripped my arms, light as bird bones. Dad, listen. He faked my death. Made it look like I did it myself. Overdose note, everything. But he has proof that I staged it. Fake documents. Signatures, emails from accounts he forced me to create. If you go to the police, he'll say I'm a criminal who faked her death to escape debts and taxes. That's insane. He planned it before I died. He pulled me into gambling loan sharks, then offered help. By the time I understood, I was dead on paper. The hacking he's made millions. Banks, corporations, identities. Everything traced to me. IP addresses, accounts he controls. I can't prove it's not me. Tears cut clean lines down her face, and he has records showing you knew, that you were paid. I know, but it looks real. If you go now, we both go to prison. He walks free. She shook me. You need evidence. Real proof he can't erase. A door slammed above us. Natalie went pale. He's home. Early. He shouldn't be. Go. She shoved me toward the tunnel. If he finds you here, I won't. I've survived 4 years, she cried. I can survive a few more days, but only if you're free finding proof. Please. Heavy footsteps moved overhead. Brad's voice drifted down. Dad, you home. I looked at Natalie one last time. She was already shrinking back into the shadows, folding herself into that corner, becoming invisible again. I crawled through the tunnel knees, screaming, heart hammering. Footsteps crossed the apartment above, moving closer to the study. I reached the opening, hauled myself up, shoved the board back, hands shaking as I replaced the books. The hidden door still gaped. Dad, Brad called again. I slammed the shelf shut and stumbled into the hallway as his key turned in the front door. I barely made it back. I had seconds. But now I knew the truth, and I must use it. I made it to the living room before Brad walked in. He stopped in the doorway, briefcase in one hand, keys in the other. His eyes went straight to my hands, then my knees, then back to my face. I looked down. My palms were gray with dust. My knees were black with grime from crawling through the tunnel. I looked exactly like what I was, a man who'd been digging through the hidden guts of a building. Dad, Brad set down his briefcase slowly. What were you doing? I could have lied. Should have lied. But the image of Natalie curled against those pipes, skeletal and terrified, burned through every careful thought. Why did you do it? I asked hoarse. Why did you lock her up? Brad went completely still. For half a second something flickered across his face, not surprise, but recognition. Like he'd been expecting this moment, and was disappointed it had come so soon. Then his expression melted into concern, so smooth it looked practiced. Dad. He stepped toward me, hand outstretched. What are you talking about? Natalie, I know she's here. I know what you did. Dad, please sit down. His voice was soft, gentle, like he was talking to a child. You're scaring me. What's going on? Don't I backed away. Don't treat me like I'm crazy. I'm not. He reached for my arm again. I jerked away. His hand dropped and his face crumpled into worry. But Dad, you're not making sense. Did you take your medication today? I don't take medication. Maybe that's the problem. His voice cracked slightly. Dad, I think we need to talk about what's been happening. The stress of the move, losing Mom last year, and Natalie. He paused, eyes wet. Losing Natalie was so hard on both of us. She's not lost. She's here. You're keeping her in a room behind the bookshelf. Brad's face went pale. Dad, Natalie's dead. She's been dead 4 years. We buried her. Remember Forest Lawn Cemetery? October 15th, you held my hand at the funeral. You faked it. I know you miss her. His voice broke, tears spilling free. I miss her too. Every day, but she's gone, Dad. Gone. And I think maybe the move was too much too fast. Diana's place, all these changes, maybe they're confusing you? I'm not confused. I saw her. Diana showed me video. Diana. Brad frowned. Dad, Diana moved to Vermont 3 months ago. Have you spoken to her? This morning. She showed me footage. Dad, there's no footage. Diana never had cameras here. He stepped closer, voice unbearably tender. Come on, let me show you. He led me to the study. Fear screamed inside me, but I followed. Brad went to the bookshelf, reached behind the middle shelf, and pressed the hidden panel. The shelf swung open. The light came on. The room was empty. No mattress, no computers, no trash can, nothing. Bare concrete walls and floor like it had never been anything else. Natalie had heard us. She'd crawled deeper into the service tunnel and sealed the board behind her. She erased herself. See, Brad's voice was gentle. There's nobody here, Dad. There never was. I stared at the room. She was here. I saw her. You saw Grief talking. He squeezed my shoulder. Dad, you've been forgetting things. Mixing dates. Yesterday you called me Uncle Mike. That's not... Mike died 10 years ago. His voice shook. Dad, you need help. I'm not crazy. I didn't say crazy. His hand tightened. I love you. I won't let you fall apart. He took out his phone. What are you doing? Calling Dr. Brennan. He dialed. My father is having delusions. He met my eyes. He thinks his dead daughter is alive. Brad's concern looked real. Brad's kindness vanished the moment I refused to get help. Fine. His voice turned flat and cold. If you won't accept reality, then we need to talk about something else. I'm going to the police. No, he said it with certainty. You're not. Watch me. Dad. He pulled out his phone. Do you remember last night when I had you sign those papers? I told you it was apartment paperwork? Formalities. My blood went cold. Last night, after champagne and toast, Brad had brought out a folder, laughing about boring legal stuff. I was tired, happy trusting. I signed without reading. That was a power of attorney, Brad said, and a temporary residency agreement. This apartment is mine. Legally. You're just a guest, and I'm terminating your residency. Right now. You can't. I can, and I am. For your safety. He opened the front door and raised his voice. Security. I need assistance in apartment 14C. My father is having a mental health crisis. Don't do this. He believes his deceased daughter is alive, Brad said, voice breaking. He's making accusations. I tried to help, but he's refusing treatment. He needs professional care. Brad, please. 2 security guards appeared young and uncomfortable. Brad spoke loudly. My father is delusional. He thinks my Aunt Diana visited him, though she moved months ago. He thinks my sister Natalie, dead 4 years, is imprisoned here. I've shown him the empty room. Doors opened along the hallway. I love him, Brad said, wiping tears. But I can't watch him deteriorate. Sir, a guard said gently, you need to leave. Listen to me. I tried pushing past them. She's here. Behind the bookshelf. There's a tunnel. Brad calmly opened the hidden door. Empty concrete. There's no one here, sir, the guard said. He was fine yesterday, someone whispered. Grief does terrible things, another replied. The guards took my arms and walked me past neighbors through the lobby, past the doorman onto Broadway. The sun was brutal. People stared at an old man escorted like a criminal. Brad stood in the doorway, hand on his heart. I love you, Dad. When you accept help, I'll be here. The door closed. I stood with only my phone and clothes. No home proof or credibility. Everyone believed I was crazy. By nightfall, I'd crossed half Manhattan and stopped at a brownstone on 74th Street. Theodore Whitmore answered, in slippers and glasses, eyes widening. Parker, what happened? I need help. Please believe me. He brought me inside, gave water, and listened as I told him everything. He didn't interrupt. That's quite a story, he said. I know how it sounds. I believe you. Brad always seemed too smooth. He stood. I know a lawyer. Let me call. Relief washed over me. I sat breathing as Theodore went to the kitchen. His voice drifted back. Hey, Brad. It's Theodore. He's here now. Talking about Natalie alive. Poor guy. What do you want me to do, okay? I can keep him. The glass fell and shattered. Theodore turned, face falling. Parker, wait. I fumbled the lock, bolted into the night. I disappeared into crowds with nowhere to go. Everyone I trusted was bought or bent. But walking the cold streets, something hardened inside me. Brad's greatest weapon was also his weakness. Paper. I understood then that documents could build prisons or tear them down. If he ruled through contracts, signatures, records, then I would fight on that ground. I would find copies, trails, timestamps, contradictions. I would survive long enough to gather proof, expose his lies, and bring daylight into the tunnels. Natalie was waiting. I would not fail her. No matter how long it took, I would turn his paperwork against him and reclaim my daughter alive today. Dawn broke cold over Bryant Park. I hadn't slept, but I had a plan. I spent the night on a bench watching the city wake, replaying Natalie's words. Brad built everything on documents. Fake death certificates, forged signatures, digital trails pointing everywhere but at him. He believed paper made him untouchable. But paper leaves traces. I spent 40 years as an architect reading blueprints and codes, learning how structures and systems truly work. At 6 a.m. I walked to the Ansonia building, not through the front where the doorman would call Brad, but through the service alley I'd used for years visiting Diana. The basement archives sat at the end of a dim corridor. A light flickered. George Caldwell, the night guard, read a newspaper. Mr. Foster, he said, Brad told me you weren't well. George Arthur needs your help, I said, and I need you to trust me, even if people say I'm crazy. He studied me. 70 years old, retired firefighter guardian of this place. You remember Natalie, I asked. His face softened. Sweet kid. I cried at her funeral. She's alive, I said. Brad's kept her prisoner here for 4 years. He could have called security. Instead, he set down the paper. Brad paid for my wife's surgery, he said quietly. $60,000. Gifts always have strings. Always. He pulled out keys. Archives are there. You've got 30 minutes. The room smelled of dust and age. I found the 1953 blueprints and photographed apartment 14C. A load-bearing wall ran through the study. Brad had cut it to build the hidden room. Illegal. Dangerous. Condemnable. In a filing cabinet, I found payments from Meridian Holdings LLC to Diana Price. 4 years. $50,000 annually. Meridian Holdings owner Bradley Foster, formed 3 days after Natalie's death. Old investigation emails showed Brad paid Theodore Whitmore $42,000 for consulting. Theodore was retired. It was silence money. I photographed everything. George knocked. 20 minutes. I found the original deed. 14C was bought by Meridian, then transferred to Diana. Mortgage payments all came from Brad. He owned it all. George waited with coffee. Enough. More than enough, I said. If I'm right today gets ugly, will you stand with me? Natalie was a good kid, he said. Tell me what you need. Stay near your phone. I may need a witness. I left and sat in a cafe searching Shaw cybersecurity breach. 6 months old, 2.5 million loss. I called the company. Tell Vincent Shaw I know who hacked him. After hold music, a cold voice answered. I'm Parker Foster. My son imprisoned my daughter and forced her to hack you. Silence. I explained. Shaw spoke again. We traced it to a Manhattan address, then hit walls. You're saying coercion? Yes. There's a residents meeting tonight, 5 p.m. Brad planned it. I'll be there. Bring proof, he said. I will too. At 9, I met Brandon Cole, my former assistant, at a diner. I showed him the evidence. What do you need, he asked. Brad leaves at 7. Get Natalie out today, before the meeting. How? I gave him the code and the tunnel details. She's weak, but brilliant. Where do I take her? My old office on West 67th. Still mine. By noon, Natalie would be safe. By 5, Brad would face justice. This time I wouldn't be alone. I felt exhaustion finally reach me, but determination burned hotter. Brad trusted contracts, timestamps, and silence. I would answer with exposure, witnesses, and daylight. Every record he forged could be reversed, every payment mapped, every lie dated. I headed toward the meeting, knowing the building, the evidence, and the truth were aligned, and that alignment would break him. By morning, I would reclaim my daughter. By 5 p.m., the Ansonia courtyard was packed. Brad stood at the podium, confident and smiling. He had no idea. 50 residents filled folding chairs' faces turned toward their generous neighbor, the man who paid for roof repairs, organized holiday parties, and claimed to care deeply about the building. Brad wore a tailored suit and the easy smile that had fooled everyone for years. Thank you all for coming, he said warmly. I want to discuss exciting renovations and reduced maintenance fees. Light applause rippled. People loved reduced fees. And regarding my father's unfortunate situation, he continued, voice heavy, with practiced sorrow. As some of you know, he's been struggling. Grief can do terrible things. We're getting him the help he needs. That's very kind of you, son. Brad froze. He snapped toward the courtyard entrance. I stepped forward through the crowd. Behind me stood Vincent Shaw. Behind him, George Caldwell. And behind George, Brandon Cole, supporting a thin woman wrapped in a clean coat. Brad's face drained of color. Dad, you shouldn't be here. My son says I'm crazy, I said, my voice carrying. He says I hallucinate, that I see things that aren't real. So let me show you what I see. George powered up the projector. Images lit the white wall. The 1953 blueprint of apartment 14C appeared the load-bearing wall, clearly marked. This is the original structure, I said. Every line keeps this building standing. Now look. The next image showed yesterday's photograph of the cut wall. My son removed a load-bearing wall to create an illegal room. This isn't just a violation. It endangers everyone living here. The courtyard erupted with shouts and fear. That's fake, Brad yelled. He's delusional. Here are the payments. Another click revealed emails and transfers. Brad paid Theodore Whitmore $42,000 to stay silent and confirm my daughter's death. All eyes turned to Theodore in the third row. His face collapsed. I didn't know everything, he whispered. I swear. You knew enough, I said, but don't take my word. Take his. Vincent Shaw stepped forward, calm and cold. He displayed bank records, IP logs, and timestamps. My name is Vincent Shaw, CEO of Shaw Cybersecurity. 2 years ago, my company lost $2.5 million to a hack. It came from this building from apartment 14C. He clicked through logs. Someone worked nonstop for years. No one does that unless they're forced. This is absurd, Brad shouted. The data doesn't lie, Shaw replied. Neither do the shell companies receiving our money. This is a setup, Brad screamed. Then explain this. I nodded to Brandon. Natalie stepped forward. The courtyard fell silent. People stood. Someone gasped. Natalie Foster, a woman whispered. But you died? Natalie reached the podium, thin but upright. My name is Natalie Foster, she said. 4 years ago, my brother faked my death. He locked me in a hidden room here. He forced me to hack systems, steal money, and commit crimes in my name. She's lying, Brad screamed. I remember your password, Natalie said calmly. N4T403 in 2020. I remember every email, threat, and crime. You told me if I screamed, you'd kill Dad. Brad searched the crowd, finding only horror. I had to, he stammered. She owed dangerous people. The dangerous person was you, I said. Theodore stood shaking. I have to tell the truth. Brad paid me to confirm Natalie's death. I signed the papers. Brad ran. He took 3 steps before Vincent blocked him. 2 NYPD officers emerged. Brad Foster, you're under arrest. Dad, Brad cried as cuffs closed. I'm your son. I met his eyes. You stopped being my son when you locked your sister in the dark. They led him away. No one stopped them. Natalie collapsed into my arms, sobbing. I held her as the police car disappeared and the sun set over the Ansonia. For 4 years she lived in darkness. Now she could finally breathe. The crowd watched quietly, understanding justice had arrived, and that the truth once buried could never be hidden again there. 2 weeks later, the hidden room was nothing but dust and memory. The Ansonia hired licensed contractors to demolish it properly. They tore out the illegal walls, reinforced the load-bearing structure Brad had damaged, and restored apartment 14C to its original blueprint. The floorboards Natalie once hid beneath were replaced. The service tunnel was sealed, inspected, and documented. The room where my daughter spent 4 years in hell no longer existed. Brad was in Rikers awaiting trial. His attorneys were scrambling, but the evidence was overwhelming. Prosecutors were discussing a minimum of 20 years, possibly more, considering the hacking, kidnapping, fraud, and financial crimes. Vincent Shaw made sure nothing was overlooked. Theodore Whitmore was fined, stripped of his building management license, and ordered to testify against Brad. Soon after he moved in with his daughter in New Jersey, too ashamed to remain in the neighborhood. Diana was granted immunity in exchange for full cooperation. She called me once sobbing and apologizing. I forgave her. She had been trapped too, just in a different kind of cage. And Natalie was healing. She gained 8 pounds. Her skin had color again. Real color, not the gray pallor of someone deprived of sunlight. She attended therapy 3 times a week with Dr. Martinez, a trauma specialist. Some days were harder than others. Natalie still startled at sudden noises, still woke from nightmares, still checked door locks repeatedly. But she was getting better. Her old cybersecurity firm called. They wanted her back, not immediately. They understood she needed time. But whenever she was ready, her position would be waiting. They never stopped believing in me, she told me through tears. Even when everyone thought I was dead, they kept my desk, my nameplate, just in case. That afternoon, we sat together in the Ansonia courtyard, the same place where Brad had been arrested. It felt different now, calm. The fountain murmured softly. Children laughed nearby. Autumn sunlight bathed the stone walls in gold. Natalie tilted her face upward, eyes closed. I forgot what this felt like, she said. Real sunlight. Not from a bulb or a screen. I took her hand. It was stronger now, no longer fragile like bird bones. You're free, I said. Truly free. No one can take that from you again. Thank you, she whispered, resting her head on my shoulder, for not giving up, for believing me when everyone thought you were crazy. You're my daughter, I said. I'd burn the world before letting anyone hurt you again. She smiled, a real smile, the first I'd seen in 4 years. We sat there as the sun sank lower, watching the city move around us. Father and daughter, survivors, together. People say blood is thicker than water, but these weeks taught me something else. Love, real love, is thicker than blood. My son chose power over family, money over humanity, control over compassion. In the end, all his intelligence, planning, and manipulation couldn't save him from the truth, because truth always surfaces, always. If you see something wrong, speak up. I don't care how powerful the person is. I don't care how impossible it seems. Silence doesn't protect you. Silence makes you complicit. And remember this, it's never too late to fight for the people you love. I was 60 years old when I crawled through that tunnel. 60 when I stood up to my own son. 60 when I chose what was right over what was safe. Age doesn't excuse inaction. Fear doesn't excuse inaction. Nothing excuses looking away when someone needs help. So ask yourself this. What would you have done in my place? Would you have believed Diana? Would you have risked everything to save someone? everyone thought was dead. If this story moved you, let it remind you to be braver, to listen harder, to stand up sooner. Take care of the people you love. Check on them. Believe them when they say something is wrong, and never stop fighting for what's right. Because family isn't blood or obligation, it's choice. The choice to stand, the choice to fight, the choice to love enough to risk everything. The Ansonia still stands solid and strong, and when I walk its halls now, I don't see a prison. I see home. I see freedom. And I see my daughter finally truly alive. Looking back at this true story, I see an old man who almost lost everything because he trusted too easily. I'm a grandpa now, not just to my own memories, but to anyone who will listen. And if there's one thing this grandpa's stories have taught me, it's this: never assume. Someone even if you raise them. Don't be like me. Don't sign papers without reading them. Don't ignore your instincts when something feels wrong. Don't let politeness or family loyalty stop you from asking hard questions. I almost lost Natalie forever because I was too trusting, too tired, too willing to believe the easy lie. God gives us instincts for a reason. That morning when Diana called, something in my gut screamed danger. I could have ignored it, could have stayed comfortable. But God doesn't promise us comfort. He promises us strength when we need it most. And He gave me just enough strength to crawl through that tunnel. Just enough courage to face my own son. Just enough faith to believe the impossible. The lesson: evil doesn't always look like a monster. Sometimes it wears a suit and calls you dad. Sometimes it brings you champagne and smiles, while it destroys everything you love. But God sees through every mask, and if you listen, really listen, He'll show you the truth even when it breaks your heart. This is a true story, every word, and I'm sharing these grandpa stories not for sympathy, but as a warning: protect your family. Believe victims. Speak up when you see wrong. Because silence isn't neutral, it's choosing the side of the oppressor. Natalie's alive today because I refused to stay silent, because God gave me one more chance to be the father she needed. Don't waste yours. So tell me in the comments, have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and doing what's right? How did you handle it? Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Like and subscribe if you believe truth matters more than comfort. And remember, with God's help, it's never too late to fight for the people you love.